Alright, how you doing? And welcome to the next video in the Soldier of Fortune 2 Unreal Edition series. In this video I've got a few things to show you. First of all, in the last video I said that the next step was to set up the client server configuration, and although it turned out not to be quite as straightforward as what I thought it would be, that is now done. To explain, I began looking into how to do this in Unreal Engine 5, and I found that the version of Unreal Engine that I was using did not natively support dedicated servers, and what I had to do was build the engine from the source build and use that. The version of Unreal that I was wanting to use at that point, that I was using at that point was 5.4.4, and as I began the process of downloading the source build from Epic's GitHub page, they introduced something called Fab, which is an overhaul of the Unreal Engine marketplace. And as I used that, I had to wait for version 5.5.0 to be released before I started with the next step. The source build of 5.5 was released in November 12 and included the Fab plugin. I downloaded it, built it, and that's what I'm using for this video. So in the meantime, while I was waiting for 5.5 to come out, I did a couple of things. Let me see. I completed the SoF2 HUD Font that I started a while back. I did start it, as I say, but I never did all the different characters. But now I've done it, and so I've created a font using FontForge. Where is it? There it's there. So that's the SoF2 HUD font, and all the characters extracted from the HUD file from the PK3 files from the original game. If we go into this, what I've done is I've extracted all the different folders from the PK3 files, and we've got the fonts folder here, and in the fonts folder you have the characters for the HUD font. So I've extracted all them and put them into FontForge and created an actual font file. That is also, so I'll show you it working in Notepad. So a simple text file will show you the version 2 Unreal Edition in it. If I go into the folder where that exists, which is that one. Oh, sorry, I've got to open here. If I open the file in HXD hex editor, and if I just replace some of the bytes with characters from the HUD font, so 03, 04, 05, 1A, 23, 25, 27, and save that, and then go back into the text file where you can see the characters are now updated. So now that we've got with the font working, there was also the aspect of other languages, because if we go into the files from the PK3 files from the original game, we have, as you can see, we've got a Korean alphabet, we've got a Japanese alphabet. I actually speak a little bit of Japanese, and a Thai alphabet. Now, I'm not going to do Thai or Korean. I might see if I can do a little bit of Japanese. I'm not exactly an expert on it, but we'll see how it goes. I might see if we can do a Japanese version, and I know someone who speaks French and Spanish, so we'll do a Spanish and French version too. That's not to say the audio is going to be in those languages. Audio will always be English, but the text, I can do in different languages. But we'll see how that goes. So that's the original font extracted from the original game, turned into a proper font and imported into the Unreal Engine 5 project that I'm making. So I've also been thinking about how to use the original animations from the original game in the Unreal Edition project, and I thought about it for a while, and it was going to be a bit difficult, because what I did was I took the original files from the original game. I'll show you where I got them from. So, not that one. If I go into the PK3 files from the original game and base directory, where are the animations again? Are in MP, I think. So into MP, got TP3, into skeletons, and those are the multiplayer animations. There's two types, one for a male model and one for a female model. And I've extracted those and put them into one of the folders. This, where I put it? No, not that one. So I've extracted the files there, that's them there, and I've got the GLM files there as well. And what I had to do is I downloaded a importer. Someone had created a GLM and GLA importer for Blender, and I imported them. I installed that in version 2.7b of Blender, imported in the models, saved the file, and now I'm using it in the latest version of Blender. So this is what you can see here. So at first I tried to take the values for all the bones in the original model, pass them into what I thought was the corresponding bone of Unreal Engine 5 mannequin, but it didn't really work because the axes are different. So the x-axis in the original model corresponds to the negative y-axis in the Unreal Engine 5 model, and it was all getting very complicated and it didn't really work, the conversion. But then I realised that I didn't actually have to use the original values. If I superimposed the Unreal Engine 5 mannequin onto the GLA model from the original game and just matched its movement, that might work. So that's what I've done here. So I've only done one animation so far, your basic run animation. And what I did was I went into the config file for, I'll change that font back, console, and that should be 14. So I got the config file from the original game, shows you the position in the GLA file of each animation. So you've got the death animations, which I won't be using, but you've got the walk, run, lean left, lean right, all the idle, attack and reload animations for each of the weapons and their position in the file. So that's the start frame, that's how many frames, and frames per second there. So I've only done it for one animation, the basic run animation, and the pink model there is the original model from SoF2 and the grey model is the UE5 mannequin. So if I start it going, I've matched the movement, and as you can see it's working quite well, and it gives us the ability to at least have the original animations as a starting point for the game. But the two models are different, the bones are different kind of sizes, they're certainly different names, and not all the bones that exist in the UE5 mannequin exist in the original model, so matching the movement was the way to do it. But if you look, although it is working, the movements, I haven't quite managed to match the movements exactly. So the body and the head of the original model in the pink there is stable, and if I turn that off, you can see the head and the body aren't stable for the UE5 mannequin. The movement isn't quite matched, but that's something I just need to work on, and I'll get it to work properly eventually. So once I've got the animation working on the UE5 model, I then exported that as an animation, an FBX animation file, and I've imported that into Unreal Engine 5, and that's it here. And as you can see, it's not quite perfect. There seems to be a wee jump between the last key point and the first one. As I say, hold on, how do you do this again? The movement of the head and the movement of the body isn't perfect, and I don't think he's quite standing on the ground, but that's just optimization. Now that I've got the basic movement, I know how to take the animations from the original game and import them into Unreal Engine 5. It is a very tedious, lengthy process of moving for each keyframe. For this animation, there's 12 frames for the full animation, and every bone has its own keyframe, so you have to move every bone for the legs, the arms, the spine, the head into the correct position, mark a keyframe for each frame, and there's 12 frames for the full animation. So it is a lengthy process, but it is something that gives us the ability to use the original animations in the new game. So I'll just work on that slowly, get one animation done per video, and eventually I'll have them all. And as I say, the original animations only ran at 20 frames per second, and the kind of industry standard just now is 30 frames per second. But if I look, that's one position of a frame, and that's another position of the next position of the frame, and it does interpolate between them. So I might not have to convert it between 20 and 30 frames per second, but again, to optimize it, that might be something that I'll need to do. So the first animation, the basic run animation, has now been imported into Unreal Engine 5, although it needs to be optimized. So as for the current stage that we're at in the game, so the last video I said this one was going to be about setting up the client server model. I have done that, and I'll show you what I've done just now. So if we go into, not that one, right, so because of the things I've added to the game just now, it's getting a bit intensive for my laptop. My laptop's just a kind of mid-range Asus laptop, and it's putting a bit of stress on it. So I've built the game, and instead of running it from within Unreal Engine, I will just run it as the pre-built versions. So where are we? So I've got a few things to show you. We now have the basics of a main menu and a lobby. So there's two types of server setup, as there was in the original game. One is the local server, which they call the listen server in Unreal Engine, whereby one of the clients acts as the server as well. And then you have the dedicated server. So I'm going to get it all set up. The code is basically the same. I'm going to get it all set up as a listen server, a local server first of all, and then pass it over to the dedicated setup too. So first of all, we host a match, and I've set up three types. What I'm going to do is I'm going to build the full setup for deathmatch, and then add in the other game types later on. And I've got two maps. One is just the normal first person setup map that comes with Unreal Engine, and the other one is Jordan that we've seen. So if I launch the game, straight in we have a health bar at the top. As you can see, we've now got a mini map on the top left, which we can zoom in and zoom out. The red icon is that gun there, which is just a point of interest, and the blue icon is obviously the player character. Don't worry about the animations, because I had to start the project again. I haven't posted in the animations I had in the last project. I'm going to do what I said with the original animations from the game and just add them in one at a time. So we also now have I've set up a time of day functionality in the game, where there's going to be 4 times of the day for each map: day, night, dawn and dusk, and it's all going to have each map is going to have four times of the day that the map can be played, and there's going to be different aspects of the different things that can be added into each time of day, and obviously the lighting will be different for each time of day as well. So another thing that I've added in, I'll just show you now, is we now have ladders. There you go, and it can now move up, and I haven't optimised the moving down of the ladder yet, but we now have ladders. Yep. So what else? So now I'll show you the client server setup that I've created over the past month. In order to do that, we'll start 2 clients. Now any client can act as a server, so what we'll do is, one on the right, we'll host a match, and what Quick Match does is it looks for any local sessions, and if it finds them, it joins the one with the lowest ping. It orders them by ping and joins the first one. So hit Quick Match. Takes a couple of seconds to find it, but as you can see, found the session and the players connected there. Both players are listed, and then we launch the game. So as you can see, the mini map is replicated onto both clients, and as you can see, the movement of one player is replicated onto the screen of the other player. So everything is done client and server now. So as I move in one player, the information is passed to the server, and the server passes it to each of the clients. We also have replicated grenades, as you can see. if I throw a grenade in one player, it obviously is replicated to the other player's viewport. The icon above the player is the health bar, the player name, and their score. That's something that obviously. So the original game had an icon above the player, but we'll have other information above the player for the new game. If I press M, we can see the map screen with the player icons again replicated and shown there too. The movement of the icons on the big map screen is correct, but the position isn't, and I think that's just got to do with the fact that 0, on the game level is the middle of the map, but on the texture of the big map it's top left, so I just need to do a wee subtract there and get it put in the correct position. Show you, oh, hold on 2 seconds, if I do that, and the same thing obviously happens from the other person's viewpoint as well. And if I press tab, you have player scores, player name, that sort of information, current stats of the game, which again is replicated. You press tab, it goes to the server, gets all the information for all the players and brings it back to your screen. So client server replication is now done. As I say, the use of 2 clients, the server and Unreal Engine on the laptop at the same time, is a bit resource intensive, but what we can do is open another client and just see if we can get 3 clients to work. So instead of hitting, see the red text there is Unreal Engine complaining about video resources or lack thereof. So instead of hitting quick match this time, we can do find match. And there it is, and then we can click on that and join the level. So it's probably not going to work too smoothly now, but as you can see, we now have 3 players in the game. So there you go. So there you go, we now have the client server model set up and replication between the server and the clients for all clients. I haven't actually set up the dedicated server section yet, but the code is the same and it would work in the same way. And one other thing I want to show you, if I throw a grenade, it now kills the players, and that is replicated across both clients. So there you go, we now have the client server configuration set up and working. And moving forward, I'm going to create a version of the deathmatch game type that has all the aspects of the original game there and working. All the code and all the functionality from the original game there and working. And then from that, we'll optimize and make it feel like it did in the original game. From there, we move on and create the other game types. But the aim of moving forward now is to create a working deathmatch that has all the aspects, code and functionality from the original game. And after this video, I'm going to dive right into getting as many of the animations copied and converted into Unreal Engine as possible. We'll see how many I can get done for the next video. So there you go, client server configuration set up and working. So I think that's everything I wanted to show you. Thank you for watching, and I hope you found that interesting. And so until next time, see you later.